So you have seen that all tutorials have simple answers, or are there on stream. I have a promise that the marks for assignment 2 part 2 will come hopefully before the weekend, but we will see. It's a promise. Assignment 2 part 2 marks. As you know, optional assignment is due on Tuesday night, right? Next week, Tuesday. And this is all I have to say before we start in something like, do we have a clock? 4 or 5 minutes. Any questions you might want to ask? So,
that's what I was going to ask. In the exam example that you went through, there was, I forget which question it was, there was a sort of spot for mistakes. It was worth 15 marks. Did that mean that there was definitely 15 mistakes out of the 21?
Oh no, I think there are 9 or something. Each mistake is something like 1.5.
Right.
So it's 15 marks, but it's the marking. It's a little bit. There are not 15 mistakes.
Right. So some of the marks.
So some of the
what the mistake is.
marks, yeah. So you don't have to come up with 15. And mostly will be to look whether the data is available when it's used, is public, private, or protected. So see whether you know what is available in the derived classes. This is the issue with that question, mostly. Yeah. Right. Any other question? Yeah, I think that there are around 10 mistakes, but I'm not sure. Anyway, there are not 15.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay. So we can start. And thank you for coming to this last lecture. It's, of course, something which tries to have a look at what would remain in your mind after these 12 weeks of working together and working on your assignments for 2, 3, 4, tutorial and stuff like that. Can you come up with 3 reasons of using object-oriented programming? Why do you think most programming languages, you probably remember Tiobe Index, are the top 10 programming languages, except C, are object-oriented programming languages. Now, after these weeks of going over the features of this methodology, what are the reasons? Can you come up with 3 reasons of why they are used? I don't know. Reasons to use object-oriented methodology. 1.
Well, grouping all the data that's similar into separate classes is logical. Like, it's easy to recognize what's going on. It's easy to take the abstract and make it
I see. So yeah,
Easy to understand.
try to model real life objects according to the problem, to the domain of the problem you try to solve. So try to make the logical abstraction of the real world. It makes easier to come up with some solutions, maybe. Yeah. Right. Any other reasons? Many programs come up initially with some features, and then you need to add new features, extend the program. This is how life works, right? Sometimes you come up with one game, and then you want to add new features to your game. So extendability is a big issue, because in general, you don't start from scratch when you write some application. If you are a big company or something, you try to reuse what is there, and you have paid a lot of money. You don't want to throw it away and say, okay, we start again from nothing and add a new feature. No, this is not business efficient. So therefore, extendability is something which hopefully you have noticed. It's easy to derive the class which reuses types, base class, coming with features. So extendability, modeling the real world. We need another one.
Encapsulation, data loading. The fact that you're making the data, your core data, safe.
Yes, security is a big issue nowadays, and with the internet, cars going on the streets without people driving. This is a new trend, probably you have seen, autonomous cars, and security with those cars is big issue. The fact that you might put some checks around your data. Who is accessing what is one thing, and private data, private methods, privacy protected is some way to perform some security when you encapsulate things. Yep. Any other? Yes?
Use of your classes, if lots of people are using those languages.
That's right. Because people are familiar with this, they will keep using this methodology. Like, people are familiar with C, and that's why they turn it into C++, because there was a large pool of people who tend to use what they know, because they have some experience. They try to make the most of it. So, as you know, one programming object-oriented programming language you can move quite easily. You have seen with Java to another one, with C#, another one, Python, another one. Yep. Any other?
Well, I have to say, I've been doing some of the sort of analyst modeling papers. I know that they focus on object-oriented, but it seems like most of the popular modeling approaches out there talk about classes. So if that's the models that your company's using, then
that's right.
you sort of got to swap them with.
Somehow it fits with modeling. You model some object, turn it into an abstraction object, real type object, make an abstraction and make a class of that, and then interact them. And yes, so modeling using this extensively. But nothing is perfect. Can you specify two reasons for why object-oriented programming is not ideal. Can you find any things which might make this a little bit more difficult? Now, if you would be a teacher or a parent and you want to teach your kid programming, it's a big thing nowadays, would you start with teaching him or her Java? How easy would it be to explain the concept of class, because everything in Java starts with a class. So, learning curve for object-oriented programming is a little bit too high for some levels. Right? And even after 12 weeks, we can't say that we know how to use this methodology properly, but you have got the fundamentals somehow. What is a class, how to provide encapsulation, inheritance, how to use generic programming. There is a big debate between composition and inheritance. You don't have to use inheritance all the time. Some people argue that composition can do a lot of good with less penalty in terms of running efficiency. So complexity is, learning curve is quite big. And any other? Sometimes with deep inheritance, it's not so easy to understand how the program works. You have to know the features of the base class to be able to use the derived class properly, which somehow it's counterintuitive somehow. Yeah, so it's not very easy to understand the program just by reading the code for your class. You have to look a little bit what is behind that class. Is it using inheritance? Is it using generic programming? Is it using something else? So reading code, it's not straightforward, but this can be argued for C as well. For large programs, you declare all variables at the top, and then after 1,000 lines of code, you forget what was your variable for, or something like that. Any other criticism? It's changing too fast, in my opinion. Java and C++. I told you, Java says every 6 months we'll come up with new version, new additions. C++ every 3 years. The compilers don't have time. Compiler providers don't have time to update their compilers with new changes. So maybe this changing is a little bit an impediment of really making good use of what is there. But any other? There are a lot of people who criticize if you look on YouTube, they say, forget about object-oriented programming. It's not good, it's a lot of hype, but
what they use to replace this object-oriented programming?
there are other, it's not the only methodology. There are functional programming, there are other Lisp, it's not functional, it's kind of the granddad of functional, but it's a different type of programming. So there are other methodologies, but so far, a lot of people are using this for various reasons, as we have seen. But once again, this methodology was not in place, let's say, before 85, right? Who knows, in 20 years' time, what kind of languages will come up to make your life easier or developers' life easier. It's good to know various methodology, and for a large system like an operating system, they use object-oriented programming, they use for other parts C programming, for other parts functional programming. So a big application is made up from various programs using different methodology. Right. Life after 234. Hopefully you will make use of the knowledge you have acquired directly or indirectly in your career or in your third-year courses. Most of our third-year courses do not require you to use a specific language. I think you can use C++, C, or whatever language you are familiar with, but I know that for 201 data structure, C++ is used, and for some other third-year third-year courses, which we'll look at in a second, C++ is the language used for demonstration. But for your assignment, you might use different one. They are changing, so if you will have a life in software engineering, programmers, administrators, for IT administrators, be aware you will have to keep learning. There are conferences, object-oriented programming, SLA, software, language and application, something like this. It's the main conference where they talk about object-oriented methodology. There is a lot to learn, but we have other courses where you learn object-oriented design using UML, a course in 158. Maybe if you really will have a career using object-oriented design and development, you will have to look into design patterns, absolutely. And so this is related to what we have talked about. In terms of general future, I have here some information about this scholarship. I don't know whether I told you. Starting with this year, there is scholarship available from internship with NASA. We have someone, oh, maybe you know, Ben Edwards, he applied for this scholarship. So, it's organized via Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment, and any New Zealand student who has good results, very good results, can apply for this New Zealand Space Scholarship. It's a New Zealand Space Scholarship, but people who get the scholarship will go to America and train with a mentor from NASA. And they have various areas. Apparently there are just 4 people who will be accepted from the whole New Zealand, 4 students. So it's a very competitive one. But it's not impossible. So this was something which appeared for the first time this year. Keep in mind. Another interesting area is quantum computing. There is a big push to go and get another type of computer which is much faster because it provides naturally parallel computing. Quantum computing relies on one bit being in two states, 0 and 1 at the same time. So if you have n bits, you have 2 to the power of n bits at the same time, and apply one operation, and that operation is applied to the power of n values, and you get results. So theoretically, it's a very fast way to perform computation, and the main thing is security. Companies, in particular defense companies, banks are very interested in this technology because decryption can perform quite easily by quantum computers. It didn't happen yet, but it's possible. And because of this, in America and in the United States and in China, there are billions of dollars invested in this technology. Companies like Microsoft, IBM, and Google, they have put online kits. You can learn in your own time and practice with this quantum computing. You have to spend some time. IBM is more for a researcher, but Microsoft, all are free of charge. You can make an account with them, and then you have access. This and this gives you access to a real quantum computer with 20 qubits here, 20 equivalent to the bits, qubits here, and Google has a little bit more, 40 qubits. Anyway, but this is monitored and mostly for researcher. Microsoft doesn't have a quantum computer yet, but they have a very good tutorial and software kit, and you can practice. So if you have some time, it's worthwhile to look at that. It's, in my opinion, something which will come in your lifetime. And it's worthwhile, in particular for people who might want to go to NASA. Having in your CV something like, I solved the problem using this, will make a big difference, make you stand out. Anyway, now this quantum computing might help you to do something about your programming project. So here we look at what happens in 2019 and who is teaching what at our university. I have summarized from what we have got. Show clipboard. No, I want to hide it. Anyway, right? Oh. So these are the 158 courses. S1 says it's taught in semester 1, S2 in semester 2, and yellow means stage 1 courses, blue stage 2 courses, purple stage 3 courses. And at the moment, these are the course coordinators. In IT, it's a practice that, in general, more than one lecturer teaches one course. For example, Tong Liu and someone else is teaching. Tong Liu, I think, is the only one which teaches that one, but Arzotic, I think, works with other people to teach system analysis. And Anuradha for software architecture does the same thing. So, for your degree, I think you can choose any of these courses. It depends a little bit on your degree, what you want, where have you enrolled. So, stage 2, application software development. I know that Tong uses C# for that. Data wrangling is Theo, who is teaching this. It's about machine learning, mostly, from what I understand. System analysis. It's, I don't know what languages they use.
It's object-oriented modeling.
Object-oriented
Maybe
modeling.
object.
Oh, okay. UML and
UML.
stuff like that, you're right. It's called system analysis. Networks and security, Julian is teaching that, and Human is doing the tutorials for networks and security. System management and testing, Arzo is teaching in the first semester. Software architecture, I think it's stage 3 course. Anuradha is teaching, and I think it's a continuation of these, but I'm not sure.
It's kind of a mix. I think that one uses C# from memory.
C#.
So it kind of follows on from 212 and from 225. So,
System analysis and the data wrangling.
yeah, sort of.
Yeah, and I think that for this system architecture, sometimes Theo works with Anuradha, but I'm not sure. I'm not very familiar. Applied to machine learning and data visualization, it definitely, I think this is a continuation, which leads to big data application, and many companies are interested in this big data. You know what this is about, right? What is about?
Data.
What is about?
All the data of the users.
And what do you do with it?
Yeah, lots of
Which,
you use machines, and you can have algorithms that quite advanced algorithms that take a long time to run, but they can do very advanced analysis.
okay, and what do you do with those algorithms?
Analyze the user's behavior.
Yes, please.
Marketing mostly.
Marketing.
They use it to target ads to people.
To extract information,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is then used to make policies like to improve our life. This is the theory. There is so much data around. For example, Auckland City keeps a lot of information about us, what rates we pay, what salaries we have somewhere, and they discover what areas in Auckland are low-income areas. There are areas in Auckland, and then they try to put more money into schools there, so they raise the level of education to give people more chances to get jobs. So, algorithms which discover where help is needed and what kind of help is needed is what big data is used for, in principle. It can be used in a bad way, but for our purpose is to discover how we can improve life based on information coming from this collection of data, yes. Okay, Internet of Things and cloud computing is another issue. Database development, Anuradha is teaching. This course, which I couldn't find information, but Jane Goodyear is someone from Palmerston North, so I assume she is a supervisor, but it's probably distance one. Professionalism in information science, theoretically is taught by Ruli, but I think that she has a student.
That's compulsory, that one.
It's compulsory, that's right, it's taught in most in semester 2,
Yeah.
mostly, but it's a must for everyone because of the accreditation, professionalism in information sciences. And this is a big issue. And this was the information system part. And now this is the computer science part. Things are at this state. Be aware, it's October now and we start in February. Maybe some changes will occur, but for the moment this is our teaching arrangement. Stage 1, S3 counts to whatever you know. In summer, it's December, January, game programming is part of 2018. So when we say semester 3 game programming means December 2019 or January 2020. Okay. Semester 1 and semester 3, data structure and algorithm, Andre is teaching. Semester 2, declarative programming, Daniel. Semester 1, computer architecture, which looks at a little bit at hardware, but mostly at software at the lower level, from what I understand. Computer architecture, Martin Johnson is teaching. Object-oriented, I will teach again next semester. And it's offered only in semester 1. Semester 2, graphical programming, taught by Yen. And then stage 3, semester 1, artificial intelligence. This is classical Napoleon Rice course. I will teach algorithm and languages in semester 2, which compares a little bit different methodology, object-oriented versus functional versus structured programming, and look a little bit of how to assess algorithm, a little bit more details about this. So practically this builds on to a 1. Requirement is this, because you have to know about this and this, I think, for 331. And the second semester only. And then we offer programming project. In fact, all 3 semesters, semester 1, semester 2, semester 3. Normally this programming project, you work in group or you can work individual, it's up to you, but normally it's for team players, so you work in groups. It's good to find who you want to work with, but most importantly, you have to find a supervisor. I am course coordinator, but I don't give you projects. I will put some projects up. These projects will go up probably around mid of February. I will try to make a list of possible projects, and then who is the supervisor for that project. You work 12 weeks, like normal semester, and then at the end you have a presentation, public presentation, where you say 10 minutes what you did, how you did it, and what were the results. Yes?
The list of possible projects, is it just one team per project, or can different teams, I guess?
Different team, different projects.
They can work towards
But
the same
if
project?
you want to do the same project as someone else, yeah, you work independently on the same project, it's not a problem. So it's very flexible, and there are many other things. For example, you choose projects we give up, we put up on a list. You work for your company and you come up with some interesting project. We are happy to look at that, and in general, Chris Ongings supervises this type of projects, more specialized projects. Or for very good students who is average grade more than B+, there are some internship options. Companies are looking for interns. The problem is 12 weeks is not the amount of time companies are happy with working on a project. They want more time. But this is a little bit of a problem. So there is a little bit of conflict. But anyway, so there are various ways of working on the programming projects. And once again, is offered in semester 1 and semester 2 when I supervise it, and semester 3 Andre is supervising it. He's doing it starting with November. And then we have computer network, semester 1, which looks at how computer communicates, routers and stuff like that, which, yeah. Concurrent programming and operating system, Martin is teaching in semester 1. Martin is teaching in semester 2 mobile application development, and as I know, he uses Java
Yeah, it's Java.
for this. So maybe you want to speed up on, read a little bit more about Java. And semester 2 internet programming, which is taught by Andrew Gilman, and there he teaches a little bit of JavaScript, or a little bit of PHP, so you know more about how to program in. Yes.
What's used in AI?
Which one?
Which languages are used in AI?
I think Napoleon has no preference. You can use whatever. You can use C or C++. I don't think that he requires a specific.
He gives base code in C++.
Yeah.
Yeah, for his assignments.
He gives example in C++.
He provides all this base code that you build on to the assignment, and it's in C++.
It's in C++. He provides his code, which might be to be used for assignments in C++. Any other?
The database paper in the 158s that you mentioned, stage 3 one, which looks incredibly boring because it's databases. Chris said that employers are looking for you to have that.
Databases
So
is
keep
big.
that in mind, that employers are looking for you to have
Some knowledge about databases, because
So
they are
it's
used.
worth
When you
checking.
talk about internet programming, you will use databases, because if you have an application and you have to store all clients, you store it in a database. So a little bit of SQL and some variants of this, it's required for internet programming. But there are 2 lectures about this, not enough. For database development, it's good to have some knowledge about that. Any other questions? Right. What would you remember in 5 years' time from this course? Think about it. To give you some other thing, and this is my favorite video clip. It's a little bit of a bad language there. But anyway, on computers, and we have chocolates. So, 2 reasons to remember.
The Book of Revelation, right?
Oh, Book of Revelation.
That's where it ends. And the Book of Revelation is got Armageddon. Armageddon is Australian for Armageddon out of here. That's the end of the world. That's where it came from. That's where it arrived from. And it's the end of the world. And if we can translate, people look at the Book of Revelation and say, oh, it's the end's going to come from the world of politics and world of economics, world of technology. And I have a love-hate relationship with technology. I do love it, but I hate it really big time. And we split into 2 groups. We have the technosphere. We know the technosphere people, they're going, I'm white far. I'm white write all the files. I work the internet. I don't even have a modem.
Your modem.
I don't have that. I don't have techno-fear. I have techno-joy. I love technology. I love to get the new machines. Every new machine I get, I think, this is the one. I won't have to work again. I've got this thing. And if you're techno-joy, you get the instructions. You wrap it and throw the instructions out the window. Get them fuckers on. I must know how this works. I've used machines before. Come on. Come on. Come on. This bit comes off, I think. And you smash it with a hammer. They get really fucked up with machines. And everyone on films, they're so swift. They're so smooth on TV. They're so expert on their computers. Breaking into the Pentagon computer. Double click on yes. Whoa! Password protected. 20 million possible contacts. Jeff. Hey! Oh, how did you know? How did you know me, Jeff? I knew there'd be a back door. And Will's always a back door. I made the software. You get the back door. So that you can get back in when you want to look around and put all this up. Put one on his head. The guy who made the software was called Jeff. Born on the 1st of Jeff, 19 Jeff. So I put in Jeff. I don't know about you, but I've never seen one character in a film on a computer in a realistic way going.
Realistic way. It's true realistic.
Oh no. Put the printer there. Computer. Instructions. Put the revelation. Control B print. Control B print. Control P print. Cannot access printer. It's here.
The computer is a printer.
I can access printer. Why the fuck can you access printer? I plugged you in. Fucking control B print. Control B print. Control B print. Control B print. And it's as if the computer's going, I'm not sure what you're trying to do. Trying to print. Control B print. Ah, but there's something you haven't done. What? Tell me what it is. I'll do it. I've got it here. No, I can't tell you. Okay, tell me. Just control B print. It's 5 in the morning. It's only a paragraph. Just gotta get this fucker printed out. I used the fax modem earlier and that fucked it up, didn't it? I got to fucking access the bloody thing. It's not being used by something else. I'm using the printer for fucking control B print. Control B print. Control B print. Print control B. Print control B. Control B print. Captain, brilliant. A problem of type 2094 has occurred. What the fuck is that? What are the 2093 other problems I've just put together that one? Oh, don't do that. Don't you crash on me, you bastard! God, I'm so tired. You have to. I'm not sure what you're trying to do. Oh, you. Right, I'll get that going. Escape, control, P, alt, escape, control, P, alt. Fucking. Right, I'm finding Amsterdam, you bastard. Hello, Amsterdam. You speak better English, well done. Born in 4 countries. Yes, a lot of problems in that one. Now, I've got a Macintosh computer with a Canon bubblejet printer, and yes, I've been into the printer file and chosen Canon bubblejet printer. Yes, I've been into the chooser file and chosen the printer port, which is the same as the fax modem port, which confuses the fuck out of me. Yes, I've chosen A4 paper instead of toilet paper. Yeah, I know that. I've chosen the picture of the dog standing straight up instead of the dog lying on its side. It's dog's problem. Taxidermist had to go with it. What the fuck? It's 5 in the morning. It will not print out. There's something definitely wrong with the. There's an on switch on the printer, is there? There's always one fucking thing you haven't done. And I think that's how, if there is an end of the world in technology, it'll happen through that. Some American general in the Pentagon going, Jesus Christ, it's 5 in the morning and your bloody work smashing the thing up with a few. The whole world goes.
Which will be interesting.
Very interesting.
If it does go, I think I'll carry on speaking as well. Thank you very much.
Yes, so this is one thing you don't do. What would you remember? Nothing. Yeah, probably nothing. If anyone asks you, what did you do in that? Or what do you remember was that course? Boring, late hours, but not as early as other courses. I don't know. Anyone? Let me know in 5 years' time what you remember, please. Hopefully, if you will be around the campus, come and say hello. And before that, if you need any recommendation, don't hesitate to send email. It happened in the past. It will happen in the future, and I can be a referee for your applications for job if you need it. And what I do normally, I look in the class results and I say, yes, he was a good student, classified in the first 10 or in the first 20 or in the first 60 students. 60% if the case is, but you don't want to be in the first 60% of the class. Is not probably getting a good thing. So keep doing well. Good luck with whatever exams and studies you are doing. And remember that no one will ask you what mark you have got in your exam. In 5 years' time, probably you won't definitely remember what happened in 2, 3, 4 exams. Try to do the best you can. Don't stress out much about this. And best of luck for your future. Thank you for coming. This is it. So, if you still have your term test, it's there, take it, the script, but probably not reading. Yes. Out.